Yeah, really, that beer's going to mark his territory all over that garage, and probably in the house if we can get in it.
Yeah, by the gallon. A friendly gray seal embraces a diver in Britain and becomes his buddy.
I didn't see that one. So what, he probably followed him all over the place then.
No, it came up and gave him a big hug and everything. It's caught on video.
Oh, wow. I've seen that same scenario with a kangaroo. It got saved from, the brush fires there, and it was hugging the person that saved him, which I thought was pretty unique.
Oh, yeah. But you know what? I've seen people come up to kangaroos, and kangaroos have one thing they like doing, is kicking.
Yeah.
You never want to go up to a kangaroo, okay,
No.
and figure, hey, I'm going to punch this kangaroo in the face just for the fun of it. You're going to get your butt whipped because that kangaroo is going to use that feet on you, and you're going to be on the ground wishing you never even got near it.
That's true, and not only that, but their little hands up front, they're pretty potent too. They're built like weightlifters, kangaroos. Matter of fact, they used to put them in boxing matches and box each other, but their back legs, the ones that they jump around on, they're strong enough to kill you on one punch if they hit you right.
Oh, yeah. We got like these mini horses on our compound, and I got kicked one time by one of them. And I tell you, this was years ago, and all it took was that one kick. And then I called up the vet to have him come out, to whatever, I think give him shots and all that stuff. And I was talking to him. I said, hey, I didn't think that these mini horses would be able to kick that hard. And he broke out laughing. Now, this guy only takes care of, like horses, and that's pretty much it. He's that type of vet. And he sat there and he said, you know what, Gary, that these miniature horses have more power in their rear legs than a full-size horse. So,
I didn't know that. That right there tells you. Well, I grew up on a horse farm. I got my great grandfather was a horse whisperer, and he taught me how to be a horse whisperer. And the first thing he taught me was never get behind a horse. If you stay away from their back legs, you'll live a lot longer. He used to tell me. I've seen them break doors and stuff that you wouldn't believe they could break. They are no joke. And if they say the smaller ones are more stronger, that's even more reason to steer clear.
Well, back on YouTube a few years ago, there was a famous in New York, a video clip of a guy goes up to a police horse and slaps it on the butt. And the horse immediately, reared its, butt up and gave the guy a kick. Now, the guy went flying probably a good 25, 30 feet and over a car. That's how hard that horse kicked him.
Wow. I've seen horses really do some serious stuff, and I don't doubt that one bit.
Why is my tea still taste salty? It must be my imagination because they rinsed the cup out. I don't know. Interesting. A waitress at a New Jersey IHOP gets a tip. Not $1, not $2 or a quarter, a $1,200 tip.
Wow, that's for what a $2 coffee got a $1,200 tip. Somebody must have either been very giving or made a very financial mistake.
No, I think maybe what the guy said, he was going and he's giving people Christmas cheer. And he wanted to give a nice tip to a waitress because that's how hard they work.
Well, it's funny you mention that because here in the Midwest, waitresses, I don't care what the minimum wage is, if it's $12, $15 an hour, they only give them like $2.50 an hour because they say, well, you make tips, so that's all they give them, which I always thought was crooked. Why is the minimum wage $12, $15 an hour, but you're only going to give waitresses $2.50 an hour? That's just so wrong. And and another place that does that same way is farmers. They don't want to pay their employees the same way. They don't want to pay more than $2 an hour, even though minimum wage is like $12, $15. It just doesn't make sense, and they don't get tips.
No. In Ohio, guess what?
Oh God, tell me.
Oh, yeah. People who live in Ohio, I feel sorry for them. Anyway, a guy breaks the record for wrapping Christmas presents.
Wow.
And then, also at the same event, Ohio City breaks the world record for getting 1,482 people to gather presents and wrap them simultaneously.
That is amazing, because I'm pretty good with my hands and building and making stuff, but as far as wrapping presents, on my present, it looks rotten when I don't know. I don't know how people do it. I couldn't imagine setting a record for speed or quantity or quality, either one. I would fail that, just like I did my Halloween outfit one time.
My grandmother was such a hoarder, and a penny pincher. But she came from the old country and then migrated into the United States when she was a little girl. So, they had it rough. But I tell you, every Christmas, she made a point. You didn't really want to go to her house or even open up a Christmas present, because you had to open up her way. It had to be opened up perfect. You didn't tear it. You didn't crease it. And then after you opened up your present, you had to give her back the wrapping paper, and she would use it for years. I think she only bought 4 or 5 rolls of wrapping paper in the last 20 years of her life. She just was so good at hoarding and reusing it.
You know what that's from? It's because, and I've found this to be true on a lot of people that went through this. A lot of people that went through the Depression, they would save salt, little packets, and sugar, and do, refurbish and save stuff like, wrapping paper or whatever it may be, because they learned, they went through the Depression, and that was tough times for them. They didn't have much, couldn't get much, so you had to learn skills to reuse or stretch out, and it just stayed with a lot of people.
Well, she originated from the Ukraine, Germany, and all that boom that was going back and forth. But she was from the old country, and I tell you, she went through the Depression in Germany as a young kid, and it was bad. And I remember playing with all this money. She had a box full of like 1 million marks and all this stuff, And I asked her, I said, well, that's a lot of money. And she goes, it wouldn't buy a loaf of bread.
It probably wouldn't. If you mentioned Ukraine, which was probably, back in her day, was probably part of the former Russia. But
no, actually, it fluctuated between Russia and Germany and all this stuff. But she was actually from Germany, but lived in the Ukraine for a while, too.
Because I know I've talked to a lot of people that was from that area before in the past, and a lot of them says, they would, in the old days, they'd wait in line for hours just to get a couple of potatoes and stuff like that. It was like horrid. It was awful, and it's starving. The people starving.
Wow. I was just reading have you noticed our chat is kind of blowing up a little bit here tonight?
I did notice that, and actually...
Well, do you see what Christine said about, she's been kicked by a couple of horses several times, and then talks about a donkey being jealous.
Yeah. Listen, donkeys, that's another enigma. Donkeys, they're not right. There's something about donkeys. 9 out of 10 of them, you can lead them. If you can lead them, they're stubborn. But when you get to water, I don't care if it's a little stream. There's something about water. They do not like to cross or get in.
Well, I learned our lesson. We got our mini horses. One of them passed on a few years ago. We actually had the vet came and said, hey, we have to put your horse down. And it was really hard. But we have 2 left. And I'll tell you, when I went to get one of them for my kids, we went to this lady who had probably about 50 of them on her farm. And she said, oh, this horse, Buna, a little miniature horse, is very loving and kind. And you know what? When we were looking at the horse, we went back 3 or 4 times over a week period just to look at the horse. And the horse was nice. It was lovable. It came up to us and just, it just was like a horse. It didn't even try biting once. Soon as we get it home, it's ever since, for the last, 18 years, if you put your hand in front of it, you better watch it because it'll bite it off. And if you go out there, she nips at you like you wouldn't believe. And I think she was being on a very good disposition because she wanted to, she wanted to get out of that situation. and her true feelings and mannerisms came out after we adopted her.
Yeah, it's funny. My great-grandfather, he taught me how to be a horse whisperer when I was like 5. And my first lesson was he put me on the bareback on the back of this pony. He said, grab the mane as hard as you can, squeeze it tight as you can. And he slapped the butt of that pony, and we was off full speed. I was going to die. That was my first lesson. But the second lesson, horses, they'll bite your finger right off, man, like real quick. When you feed them, you got to keep your hand flat. You got to let them eat out of your palm, not stick your fingers up, because especially if you're getting them carrots, because they'll think your fingers are
yeah. I didn't need that thumb anyway. But, I don't know. They're nice. They're great watchdogs. They're better than any dogs we have ever had. If a car dries up, they let us know that somebody's there. And they recognize each one of the cars. Cars go by here all the time. They never make noises. They hear my wife's car, or they hear my son's car, or they would hear my motorcycle. They could hear it 2 blocks away before I even could hear them. Very good hearing. And I tell you, very great watch horses. I tell you that.
Yeah, they are. And you're absolutely right. And, they all have their own personalities. Once you get to know their personality, then you can work with them. But yeah, they are good watch dogs, so to speak. So is them alpacas. Those things. A lot of farmers in the Midwest buy alpacas, and they're like watchdogs, and they get pretty good size. And that was the thing last year in Kentucky. Some kind of wild animal was killing the alpacas. That weighed 500-600 pounds apiece, and it was killing the livestock. And it wasn't a bear. They couldn't figure out what it was. They thought it was some kind of big cat, but there's no big cat native to that land. So that was a big mystery last year. But yeah, I get what you're saying there.
Well, I don't know. Anybody want to? No, I would never get rid of these horses. I tell you.
I love the goat.
But yeah, the goat. As my daughter is really, I can't find any use for it. It won't even eat the weeds around here. It has to have a special diet of goat food and a special hay.
Well, let me ask you, is it the biggest miniature goat in the world?
It's not a miniature goat. I knew nothing about goats. The lady lied. We had 2 goats before it, and they both passed on. They lived about 15, 20 years, and they were like puppy dogs. They would follow us around. This goat reminds you of evil. Anyway, we need to go on break. We'll be back here, and then we're going to talk for about another half an hour. Big shout out to Karen, to Kristen, and everybody else out there on chat tonight. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio. This is Gary, and you know what? Tonight is going to rock. So we'll be back, in about 3 minutes.